Finally, they made a good D&D movie. Nah, I'm just kidding. I mean, look, I'm gonna be brutally honest. I've never played Dungeons and Dragons before. I don't know anything about it really whatsoever. But yeah, I know they made a movie, what, like back in the year 2000 or something, and that it was pretty terrible, I heard. But were there any movies between then? See, I don't even know. But I have heard of D&D. I know it is a board game. I mean, I've heard of D&D. Is it a board game where you roll dice and you play as like different classes, or is it a card game? No, it's like a role playing game, and there's like a narrator, and then there's other players and stuff like that. Yeah, see, that's how little I know about D&D. So yeah, why did I watch this movie even though I have no interest in D&D whatsoever? Well, I wasn't actually going to once I heard it was announced, but man, when I saw the trailer, it looked like such a fun time. So I was like, you know what? Why not? And I was not wrong at all. So Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves tells the story of a charming thief who gets his whole world taken away from him in a heist gone wrong. Desperate to get back the thing that makes him whole again, he assembles a team all with unique traits and abilities and goes on an epic and thrilling journey in order to make things right again. Now, if you know the source material, you know Dungeons and Dragons, you will definitely get more out of this movie, that's for sure. Let me know, if you're one of those people and if you like the movie or not, or if you are looking forward to seeing it. But for example, you'll understand some Easter eggs and references, or, I mean, you might have, more criticism for the movie, I guess. However, as someone who's being introduced into this world for the first time, essentially, this review will be more of like an outsider's perspective. And I have to say, this movie will still appeal to people like us. It almost didn't feel like a D&D movie in a way. It just felt like a fantasy adventure movie with just a great and captivating story. And it felt that way because from the get-go, this movie immediately takes off, and we are already inside the world of Dungeons and Dragons. A part of me at the start was wishing that it was kind of similar to Jumanji in a way, the modern Jumanji, where the players become the characters, almost like Ready Player One or something like that, where in a very advanced technological way, the players enter the world, VR or whatever, stuff like that. I thought about that for a second, and it actually sounded pretty dope, since I know that Dungeons & Dragons is like a role-playing game of some sort. But then again, I thought, you know what, that would probably make it too similar to a lot of other movies. Ready Player One, like I said. But, after now having watched the entire movie, I honestly don't mind it anymore. Like, I don't mind the way the movie turned out and the direction that it went. But that was an interesting thought. The story was very captivating, and it's one where I liked the direction it went. You can clearly tell what the heroes were fighting for, and the main antagonist was cleverly hidden until almost the very end. And this movie felt this perfect length too, not too short, not too long. 2 hours and 40 minutes is its official runtime, but it was more like just a little bit over 2 hours, and that's fine. When I saw it was 2 hours and 14 minutes, I was like, it is a little bit longer than I would have thought it would be, but I mean, that's just including the credits and stuff, Although I'm not gonna lie, I almost did feel like sleeping at some parts, and I generally don't unless I slept bad the previous day or the movie was bad, but it felt like it was neither, so I really don't know. But I won't lie, some parts of this movie were a bit of a drag, so that might be it. But even then, that was hardly the case at all, because this movie was thoroughly entertaining from start to finish, and some sequences were really epic. I guess I was just tired, and I also had work later on in the day, so I was just dreading that. But what added to the epicness of the movie for me was how the speaker and the cinema I was in was just so good. It was the Lux cinema, so maybe that was it, but the sound was so amazing, and it was so crystal clear, and every rumble I heard I could feel because my seat was like legit rumbling. Oh man, it was like, wow, it was very immersive indeed. I won't lie, those little details or those extra little enhancements to my viewing might have made me enjoy the movie a little bit more than I should have. But I mean, I also loved the whole cast, and every main character had their own unique introductions and their jobs in the group, which was cool to watch, and the movie also gets a bit emotional at times as well. Like I said, it had just a bit of everything, which made it overall a great ride and a really fun time. And I'd imagine kids would have a lot of fun with this, this new D&D movie as well. And I mean, they most likely don't have a single clue as to what's happening D&D wise as well. But I say that because there was a lot of laughter in my theater. This movie was pretty humorous at times. I cracked up a few times as well. And I also felt like the jokes and the humor in this weren't particularly cringeworthy as well, which was what I kind of expected coming into this. I do have a tip though, and I know it's hard, especially if you watch movies often and get previews before a movie in the theater. But don't watch the trailer coming into this, because I found myself already knowing what happens at certain parts, and I definitely could have done without that, just to, have the added element of surprise. I know all trailers do that and spoil some things, I know, but I mean, it's just a tip, and, that's why I rarely watch movie trailers willingly. As to get more surprised when the movie finally comes around. And I know I inserted some clips of the trailer into this review, but into basically all my reviews. But that's just only to keep things interesting. And I mean, hey, it's the internet, If you really didn't want to know anything about the movies that I review, you probably shouldn't click onto them anyway. Because even though basically all my reviews are spoiler free, I mean, for me, being someone who, likes to go into movies without knowing anything, yeah, there are still some minor spoilers in my reviews that aren't very inexplicit in a way, but still are spoilers if you're a person who generally just doesn't want to know anything about a movie before going into it. Ultimately, the new D&D movie was a great success from a neutral point of view. It had a mix of everything. It was emotional, funny, had a great story, was epic and adventurous indeed, and was a perfect movie to just sit back, relax, and eat some popcorn. Sure, it's not perfect or one of the best movies you'll ever see, which you will see from my overall rating of the movie, but it definitely still provides with a fun time, and I mean, that's why we go to watch movies, right? I'm going to give Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves a B+. Man, I am rating a lot of movies B+ nowadays. Every time I make a new review, I check my overall rating of it, and it's like, I feel like more than half of the movies I reviewed this year are like a B+. Oh man. But it's just because a lot of the movies I watch are really good, really decent, but they just don't hit that A rating mark, because they're either like, okay, they're decent, right? But they're not that memorable or that exceptional or goes above expectations, This movie, along with the rest of my B pluses, don't. I see, most of the movies I review are B plus. I've actually checked last year and this year, and it's because, they're really good, but they just lack that, But I mean, being an outsider, I had no idea how D&D works, so as some things in this movie were a bit confusing, or I didn't really understand, there were a lot of classes and what they do, and a lot of, names, I didn't really understand, so, like I said, you definitely get more out of this if you know D&D, and for those people, let me know, if you've watched it, or if you want to watch it or not. If you have watched it, how good is it, Let me know, because this is mostly, I'm just an outsider, so I honestly don't know, but I feel like if you know the source material, you will probably be more critical of the movie. That's for damn sure. But I did see some critic reviews before, I mean, on Rotten Tomatoes and stuff like that. And it was, I mean, Rotten Tomatoes isn't necessarily the site to base all of your opinions off of. It's not always accurate. But it's somewhere that I just always go to after the movie ends just to see which side of the critic, you know, I'm on, right? And for the most part, it's doing pretty good right now. It's doing pretty good. But yeah. I was gonna say something else, but I forgot. So I'll leave it at that. Guys, thanks so much for watching. Let me know what you think down below. Like and sub if you enjoyed. And as always, feel free to check out any of my previous videos. Until next time.